have a leaky fire hydrant here. And I think the hostel is somewhere up here for people who travel on a budget or want the experience. So, wink wink. Most people don't want that kind of experience. It's a little too cozy. Although I heard you could get single rooms, but if you pay the least cost, you could be in a space with 18 cots, 18 bunk beds, whatever, 18 beds on bunk beds. I don't know if it's filled up all the time. Your license has to indicate that you live 5 miles away or more, so it prevents sort of like more homelessness situation going in there, or people who have just enough money to stay at a hostel, So. It used to be like people always wanted to stay at youth hostels, or hostels across Europe. Like there used to be a thing, we're gonna backpack across Europe and stay in hostels all the way, take the U-Rail, for however much money that is, and visit every country in Europe. I don't know if that's still a mentality like among college students or recent grads or people who are in between trying to figure out what they're doing with their lives. So I kind of find that in the US, youth hostels might be a little bit more for people in need, and we have such a drug culture that it could be catering to certain crowds who seek out youth hostels, I guess. I don't know. So started. I-95 under the bridge. Sadly, there's some sort of weird, I don't know if it had to do with race car driving or street racing or whatever, but a car went over a bridge way up by Port Richmond. So I thought about walking towards Northern Liberties and Fishtown, and that's south of Port Richmond. It's a hike to go to Port Richmond. That would be a little bit too much to walk, but people have done it. It's also, Port Richmond is the east side of basically Kensington and Druglandia. So if you went west towards the L from Port Richmond, you basically find the alleged, Zombieland. Although when the new mayor came in, there was like a quick cleanup, and I don't know if there are as many encampments, if you will. I'm not sure where people went or what's going on, but I think it's quieter. It's not as, it's a time period after the pandemic and during the George Floyd trial when, it probably became like a takeover almost of Kensington. Down and feed the birds this morning. Every once in a while I do this bird feeding. I could feed birds in my neighborhood, but the seagulls are down here. There are some seagulls over by 30th Street Station on the bridges there, but it's less conducive to a feed the bird experience. So maybe I'll do a short of the birds, but it's hard to film and feed birds, so I kind of wanted to just enjoy feeding the birds. I did this a lot. I used to feed the geese. I have actual bird food as opposed to bread, like bird seed. I used to feed the geese a lot, and after 2011, and I was sort of had to figure out how to entertain myself while being driven crazy and working, really crazy. The schedules, sun up to sundown, dog walks all over the place, all over the city, not in the same area. I was stuck in dog walking is the problem, and it was supposed to be a temporary fix to, a situation. So anyway, I used to feed the geese up at the boathouse, up at Lloyd Hall and Boathouse Row all the time. And in a way, I became attached to the geese. So they were like my friends, if you will, because whatever I experienced, I seem okay today, unless you heard me, unless you were to hear me get triggered and flip out. But back then, we were talking. I'm so not kidding. It's like a really bad version of Jane, stop this crazy thing. And anyway, not a great experience. And I had actually had a little network, of connections and people I did things with. Went to a couple of Brandy Carlisle concerts. I went out to eat, this, that, and the other, met up with people to go to the library, stuff like that. All those people did very odd things once 2011 kicked off. So it struck me that, in my pursuit of trying to find a network or people to connect with, a place to belong, in that pursuit, did I enter someone's web? And it became like they're all part of some idiotic system that does something really dumb to people. My biggest crime, I'm looking for friends. I can barely earn a living, and I'm looking for people to feel, supported by a community. That's my biggest issue in life. And I grew up a child of divorce in the 70s when it was very new in our community for parents to be divorced. It's just very rarely did you see it. Anyway, there's a guy over here with his bike also enjoying that. And anyway, it's kind of like, what was this about again? So, come down here, feed the birds, because it turns out a lot of people love animals better than people, because people are either heavily controlled or intimidated. But I don't know what's going on out there, but